Welcome to Hard Truths, the podcast where we do not sugarcoat. We don't do soft landings. We just get straight to the real conversations that people need to have. Today, we're talking about something a lot of people struggle with, but almost nobody talks about. Asking for help. I mean, why is it so damn hard to say, hey, I need a hand? Whether it's work stress, relationship problems, mental health struggles, or even something as small as needing help moving a couch. There's this unspoken rule that says we should figure it out alone. But is it really a strength, or are we just making our lives harder? This episode was inspired by posts from Ask Men Advice. A guy shared how he's always the go-to person for his friends and family. But now that he's struggling, he can't bring himself to ask for help. He's stuck in a cycle where he's always there for everyone else. But when it's his turn, radio silence. And let me tell you, that hit home. So today, we're diving deep into this. Why so many of us hesitate to ask for help, even when we need it. Whether being independent is as great as we make it out to be. At what point does pride become a prison? And how can we actually get better at accepting help without feeling we've failed? If you've struggled with this, trust me, this episode's for you. Alright, let's start with the Reddit post that got me thinking about this. I'm a 32-year-old guy, and I've always been the go-to person for my family and friends. People come to me when they need advice, a favor, or just someone to listen. And I like being that person. It makes me feel useful, dependable, and good. But lately, I've been going through a tough time. Job stress, health stuff, just a lot at once. And I can't bring myself to ask for help. Even when I know I need it. I feel like I'd be seen as weak or worse, like I'm inconveniencing people. Anyone struggle with this? How do I break the habit of handling everything alone? Yeah, that one hit home for me. And apparently, it hit home for a lot of other people too. The responses were all over the place. Some guys were like, man up, bro. Others, dude, you need therapy. And then, there were the people who straight up admitted they were in the same boat. Always the helper, never the one being helped. So let's ask a real question here. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we make it so much harder than it needs to be? One of the biggest reasons we struggle to ask for help is because we live in a world that glorifies independence. From the time we're kids, we hear things like, figure it out, or tough it out, or if you want something done, do it yourself. And honestly, that advice isn't always wrong. Being self-sufficient is important, but when does it stop being empowering and starts being destructive? We idolize people who look like they did it all on their own. The lone wolves, the self-made millionaires, the ones who never needed anyone. But here's the truth that nobody's going to tell you. Nobody actually makes it alone. Every single success story, no matter how independent they look, had help. Mentors, investors, friends, family, somebody. So why do we act like the need to do everything solo? What's the actual benefit? Independence does build confidence. When you push through something alone, it gives you a sense of control and accomplishment. But here's where it turns against us. when we start thinking that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Let me tell you something. It's not. Because the flip side of refusing to ask for help, it leads to isolation, stress, and burnout. There's this idea that struggling alone somehow makes us stronger. But that's just not true. Research actually shows that people who ask for help and build strong support systems end up being more resilient in the long run. So here's something to think about. Are you really independent? Or are you just afraid of looking weak? Alright, let's talk about pride. This is a big one. We don't ask for help because we don't want to look like we can't handle our own problems. I get it. That little voice in our head says, I should be able to do this on my own. And you know what? Sometimes pride is a good thing. It pushes you to figure things out, to work hard, to prove to yourself that you're capable. That's great. But pride becomes a problem when it locks you into a struggle mode for no good reason. Think about it. How many times have you spent way too long trying to fix something that someone else could have helped you with in minutes? Maybe it was a work problem. Maybe it was something physical, like fixing a car. Maybe it was an emotional struggle. Have you ever thought of looking for the bread aisle and just asking instead of just searching? But instead of asking for help, you just sat in frustration, trying to power through it alone. And why? Because you didn't want to be that guy, the one who needed help. But let's flip that for a second. When a friend asks you for help, ask you. Do you judge them? No. If anything, it makes you feel closer to them. So why do we assume that us asking for help is going to make people think less of us? I'll tell you what makes people pull away. When you act like you don't need anyone. So be honest with yourself. Is your pride helping you, or is it just keeping you stuck? So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. If you refuse to ask for help, whether it's because of pride, fear, or ego, you're only making your life harder for yourself. The strongest people in the world know when to lean on others. Success isn't about doing it alone. It's about knowing when to reach out. So if you've been struggling in silence, here's your permission slip. Ask for help. And that's it for today's episode of Hard Truths. If this episode made you think, if it hit home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the truth is, we're all struggling with something. And sometimes, all it takes to make things better is one conversation. Until next time, challenge your pride, trust your people, and don't be afraid to reach out.